Storm of Steel by Compass Games puts you in charge of a squadron of Stuka dive bombers in World War II. How does this one play and what did I think of it? I'll share my thoughts now on Legendary Tactics. If you like games like Storm of Steel, you should check out the sponsor of this video, Noble Knight Games. At Noble Knight, they have a wide variety of board games, card games, miniatures, really anything your gaming group might require. Check out the link in the description below. Storm of Steel by Compass Games puts you in the role of a Staffelkapitän during the Russian campaign in World War II, commanding Stuka dive bomber raids on a range of targets while dealing with weather, enemy fighters, and other assorted events and opportunities. Storm of Steel is a type of game that I refer to as a procedural. Players get assigned missions by die roll. You choose your ordnance and which pilots and gunners will fly. But when the planes take off and a mission is actually being flown, there really aren't a lot of decisions to be made. Players are just along for the ride to see what happens and hopefully to roll well to bring your boys home. It's a very luck-based genre of board game, but I'm fine with that. It's exactly what it purports to be. The game is not meant to be a strategy game, but more of a narrative experience. But instead of reading a story as you do in games like War Story, Occupied France, or Tales of the Arthurian Knights, Storm of Steel steers players into imagining their own narrative, as revealed by the drawing of cards and the rolls of the dice. If it were a computer game, a mission would be something that a few clicks of the mouse could resolve, but instead it is the slower speed of the analog dice rolling that allows the story to unfold in its own time, which allows the drama to build. That said, the missions are reasonably quick, especially if your Staffel doesn't have to fly very far to get to the target. So how does this game do? Let's first take a look at what I liked about the game. Without a doubt, the most fascinating part of this game is managing your Staffel. Like any game where you're managing a roster of players like Football Manager, it is an interesting decision space to work in. As the crew stress piles up, ace pilots are killed and replaced by greenies, and airplanes are destroyed or damaged and need time to be fixed or replaced. In contrast to B-17 Queen of the Skies, where you only have one plane's worth of people, Storm of Steel uses a cast of 78 different men that will come and go as the war drags on. It's much more like Skies Above the Reich than B-17. I like the idea of crew stress, which may have been borrowed from DVG's Thunderbolt Apache Leader, where I first encountered this mechanism. I thought the event cards were a nice touch and simple to implement, although it might have been nice to have a few more in the deck to add more variety. I really think that they do help to contribute to the narrative. The components are very nice with the nicely organized mounted map board, the sturdy cards and counters, and the overall look. There is the avoidable issue of the plane cards sliding around when you try to adjust the counters on them, a nitpick that could have been corrected, I think, by just printing the image of the plane cards directly onto the board. I also like that we get the little named pictures of crewmen and gunners, many of them based on actual people who flew Stukas in the actual campaign. It adds a human element to the game, and more importantly, it provides someone like me with authentic German names that I would otherwise be unable to think of if I had to name the characters myself. Deciding which pilots to send on a mission is a really fun decision to make. It's a challenge to manage each mission as pilots end up in the hospital, planes need to be repaired or replaced, and your Staffel starts to fill up with green or highly stressed pilots and gunners. And like most games of this type, you do get attached to some of your men, especially if they stick around long enough to become aces. While I don't think a paper death in Storm of Steel is quite as impactful as it is in B-17 or Ambush, it does provide a bit of emotion and drama. The rulebook is okay. It can be hard from time to find the rule you're looking for, and I did feel that there were some gaps that led to unanswered questions. It's not the worst rulebook I've read, but certainly takes some concentration and dedication to the task in order to get it. The player aids are pretty useful, however, once you know how to play. I'm not sure how I feel about averaging the damage that is done in a mission to arrive at a score. I think something like cumulative damage might have been a more effective way of assessing success, but instead of sending enough planes to effectively destroy a target, a decision is made by the player to work the averages, taking into account the dilution that happens with more planes in the group, resulting in a lot of 5 and 6 plane Staffels where possible, regardless of the size of the target. I don't know if this change to cumulative damage would then simply result in 10 plane groups flying every single time, which would likely distort the gameplay. As I said before, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I found the choosing of ordnance to be fine, but a more or less obvious decision. It does add some historical flavor, especially as the weaponry does evolve a bit over the course of the game, and it allows for your planes carrying your most effective weapons to be knocked out before they get to use them. So while I think management of the Staffel lacks the dramatic finality of a character death that one feels in other games, the game plays very well once you get underway. There isn't too much die rolling, and it definitely has that one more mission kind of addictiveness. It's a fun and interesting procedural board game that is a great introduction to this type of wargame, and unique enough that it's worth looking at if you already own a game or two like it. What do you think of Storm of Steel? Let us know in the comments. This is Legendary Tactics.